following podcast is brought to you by patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca. Like what you hear? Want more of it ad-free, uncensored, and earlier? Sign up today at patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca and start getting more for as little as $2 a month. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for your main event, where news and opinions on the sport of kings collide. WrestleMedia is proud to present The Wrasslun Show. Welcome to The Wrasslun Show, part of WrestleMedia, where everything is wrestling, and wrestling is everything. I'm at Adam Conta. That's not Matthew Sucrum. It's Andrew Kent. Andrew, hello.
I love being on The Wrasslun Show.
Well, good. I'm glad.
A big fan.
Whoa,
big fan of the show, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You got any money? Don't touch me.
Oh, I hate that guy.
Yeah, I tried it out. It didn't feel good. He's not a good guy. Anyway, let's not talk about that guy from The Lasting Mark. Let's talk about this show and this week's guests. I'm excited, man. We've got Matt and RJ from PCW. Their show, Something Sinister, is going down tomorrow in Belleville. In Brockville. Totally different. I don't want to send fans to Belleville and they're like, "Where's this wrestling show?" I was like, "Oh, it's in Brockville. It's a couple hours the other way." Woo! That would have been bad. Go check them out. Find them on Facebook. Some incredible matches happening there. We're going to talk all about that coming up in just a little bit. In the meantime, you know what, Andrew? A lot of people heard about you and Cole and your adventures in Toronto during SummerSlam week. You can go and check that out in the archives at WrestleMedia.ca for all of that information. How have you felt about the WWE product recently since that time? What are you looking forward to?
Just looking forward to seeing where they go with The Fiend. I'm looking forward to kind of seeing where the Randy Orton and Kofi Kingston stuff ends up, because I thought it was an okay match with a bad finish. It didn't feel like a SummerSlam match in any way, shape, or form.
I don't think it was a bad finish. I think that they're going somewhere.
Well, yes, I agree, but I just feel like my issue is same thing that we said the AJ Nakamura match from WrestleMedia
34.
WrestleMedia 34.
WrestleMedia 34.
It's like, I get it. You're going somewhere, and I respect that. But I'm still sort of old school in the mentality that your big shows should be where you have that final match. Maybe they should have had their SummerSlam match, they should have had it maybe a pay-per-view or two ago, so that SummerSlam is kind of the blow-off spot where you put the big matches.
You know what the problem is, though?
What's that?
They have a pay-per-view in October built around a gimmick that is reserved for giant blow-off matches. And that's where I think they're going with it.
I think you're right.
I'll be honest with you, I prefer that a whole lot more than going, well, it's October, I guess we're having a Hell in a Cell match to finish off this 1 month feud.
What, you didn't like the insanely personal rivalry that led to the Hell in a Cell between Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy last year? Was that last year?
Yeah, it was last year.
Holy crap, it's been a long year.
They had a little bit of build-up. I'll give you an example. It was a great match. I'll give you an example. I didn't agree with the Hell in a Cell Undertaker CM Punk match from 2009.
So dumb.
Doesn't make sense for those guys to be in it. There's a lot of them out there.
I didn't even like. I'm glad that they did it. I'm glad they went on last, but I don't think Charlotte and Sasha Banks needed the Hell in a Cell.
I disagree with you on that one.
Really?
Yeah. Because they had been having a whole series of matches, and every time it kept escalating, and they wanted to get it out there and say, it's the first ever, so it felt like it had this important factor to it. I like that match a lot.
It's a great match.
Right.
It's never about the match. It's just for a match that used to be reserved for it's like War Games.
Yeah.
Right? We talked about that, and we have till 5 before. It's like, once you start doing the matches just because it's Battle Bowl or whatever, wherever they did that, what we're supposed to do is it's the War Games. Okay, what 10 guys do you want to put in there this year? It makes no sense. So it's less about the match, and it's just about,
it depends.
Do they need to be in there?
Royal Rumble makes sense because it's multiple guys fighting for something.
Sure.
Money in the Bank makes sense. It's multiple guys. Even Elimination Chamber makes sense. You don't necessarily need a story because it's about guys fighting for a title shot, right? But you're right. Hell in a Cell is a match that's for personal grudges. Cage matches, these are matches that are for TLC matches. These are for personal issues. They're not for multiple person fighting for something. You know what I mean? There are matches that need build up to them. And so I'm not mad at that SummerSlam ending because I feel like that's the plan. That's why I think their match at Clash of Champions will probably end in a double DQ so that we can go no countouts, no disqualification.
Sure.
There's only one way to settle this, Hell in a Cell.
And I'm not upset with it, like, in theory. If that, Clash of Champions, I'll be a little less disappointed, because it's just, I like when, maybe you shouldn't leave it on the table at WrestleMania. Maybe you shouldn't leave it on the table at SummerSlam. It's just old pet peeve, but
I get it. I understand it, but I also appreciate that more, that they were thinking about October, as opposed to like, well, it's SummerSlam, so we got to give them something here, and then we'll figure out the details later. Because I feel like that's way more insulting to me as a fan.
Sure.
I would rather that they take some time and build to something. And then it also gives us an ending that we didn't expect as well, which, ruined my perfect score, but that's all right. I'm not mad about it. I'm excited about the King of the Ring, so much so that in the second half of this show, I'm actually going to go back and rebook the King of the Ring that was voted upon, got the most votes from our fans across all of our social medias, which are what, Andrew?
We're on Twitter.
Yes.
We're on Facebook. And we're on Instagram.
We are.
And I just learned on We Have Till 5 that we're not on Tout.
No, we're not.
And we're not on TikTok.
We are on Vine, though. That episode is going to be coming up. We recorded that earlier today, but it will be coming up in the very near future for all of you, both patrons and folks who listen to us for free at WrestleMedia.ca. They can find us on social media at
WrestleMedia.ca.
Exactly. You got it, my friend. So thank you for voting there. They also voted. I got votes on my personal page as well, so I counted up every vote, and I'll tell you something. It came down to 2 years. 1 vote was the deciding factor. Wow. So it was really, really close. So we will reveal that to our patrons coming up, which means if you want to hear me book that, then you are going to have to throw a few ducats in the bucket at patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca, where all of our patrons get access to early versions of the episode. Not so much this week. It's been a little hectic. I am sorry for that. But bonus content, everybody's getting some of that, right? Some of that extra stuff, and maybe even some exclusive stuff like our quick picks or our watch along Wednesdays, which are only for those top tier producers. So thank you so much for being a patron and a producer on this show. You help make the dream work. We appreciate that. All right. Let's get into the interview with RJ and Matt. We'll hear them talk about PCW and why you should go check out their show tomorrow. And then when we come back, we'll wrap things up and then we'll get into the patron portion. Let's throw to it. I'm pleased to be joined today by a couple of friends of mine. We go way back, all the way to our days in Kingston in Ontario Championship Wrestling. Please welcome RJ Lawrence, head referee for Something Sinister and a lot of promotions actually across Ontario. And my good buddy, new guy Matt. As we'll reference him here as Last Matt Standing, the guy who does a lot of the graphics for what you see on WrestleMedia.ca. Guys, welcome to the show. Good to be talking with you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
All right, guys. Before we jump into the main reason we're going to be getting together and talking, I just want to ask how you guys are doing. How are things going with you guys this summer? How are we feeling?
Life is good, and even a bad day in wrestling is still a better day than doing anything else. So it's it's been a good time to love life and reinvent yourself and things like that. And it's been nice that wrestling has been able to be such a big part of that as well.
I agree. I agree with with those statements wholeheartedly. So, yes, I agree with you 100% on that. Let's jump in and talk about what we're here to discuss today. PCW, Professional Championship Wrestling's Something Sinister, happening August 24th in association with Chinlock Wrestling at the Royal Canadian Legion number 96. Way better than Royal Canadian Legion number 95. That place is a piece of garbage. Over on 180 Park Street.
Shots fired.
In Brockville, Ontario. You want to go, Legion number 95? We got you.
Yeah, really. Bring it.
It's going to be a hell of a show, pun intended. You guys had your first outing in May with Rising Tide. Sure. Since some of our listeners may have heard us talking about that show previously, we want to know, how did it go? Bring us up to date. Catch us up with what's happening. What happened at the big event?
We were more than thrilled with that May 25th event. Like, we had a great crowd. We had some very supportive fans. All the matches we had. I'm just trying to pull up the results page from the last show because I can't. I'm terrible naming things off the top of my head, but yeah, we were every match on that card. We had a great main event, the triple threat with Dino Benjamin, Ray Steele, and Catalyst Nick Williams. Like they tore the house down. Everybody put their best foot forward. It was a great show, and we're looking for more of the same on August 24th.
And you guys had a little bit of a, well, you know, all promoters have issues where card is subject to change, and that kind of happened to you guys on your first outing. You guys had a different main event completely planned, and then life happened. Tell us the story behind that.
Absolutely. It was actually maybe a week or two before. I guess Sheldon Jean. He was experiencing some bit of symptoms of concussion, and unfortunately, I believe he actually ended up having to recoup over the course of Capital City Championship Wrestling ran the Friday before us in Ottawa, and I believe he was unable to make that show, as well as the main event. We were planning on a 2 out of 3 falls match with Dino Benjamin. Now, unfortunately, you know, in our circumstance of our first outing as promoters, we were kind of, from what we've known and experienced in our time in the professional wrestling industry, it's like these things do happen. And unfortunately, it was the one snag that happened. But with what we know concerning how the brain works and the risks involved with professional wrestling, it's a non-negotiable thing that, you know, even though it might have even been a disappointment, there's in no way, shape, or form that we could ever allow somebody going through a medical circumstance like that we would ever hold that against them. So yes, it was very much the right thing. I'm very happy that Sheldon took a very proactive approach in properly addressing those things and taking doctor's wishes, because it's one of those things, especially with guys. John Wayne's dead, and when you need to address things about your health, that's what you need to do. And I'm glad that that's something that I think society in general has properly addressed now and is working on. But yeah, it was just one of those things of cards subject to change, but we were still able to provide everybody involved with PCW, the first show in particular, a proper platform to, you know, to truly benefit the person across from the ring and a chance to grow as performers.
Have you guys heard at all from Sheldon since then? How is he doing? What is the possibility that he'll be showing up in PCW in the future?
More than it's very possible. Absolutely, we're still on very good terms with Sheldon. I believe he's just started to return to the ring. From what I recall, real life has caught up to me, so I haven't been able to keep tabs on the industry itself. But I believe he's now back in ring shape. And you know, with how often we run, it's very possible that down the road we will have Sheldon in for a bit of a makeup date, certainly.
Yeah, for sure.
So now that was established, what happened? What went down in the main event then? How did that change the direction? You guys brought in a new name, 2 new names to the fight, and how did that end up going for the main event?
The main event, like I said, they tore the whole house down. Like we had Catalyst Nick Williams come out on top on that one. And I think the fans definitely got their money's worth in that matchup.
Now, with Nick Williams coming out on top, that certainly has moved him into a top spot with PCW, and that shows in this upcoming event, Something Sinister. He's back in the main event this time. Wasn't scheduled for the main event the first time, but that big win has launched him to the top of the card, as now he's taking on former tag team partner CJ Felony. How did this match come about?
Absolutely. So in the regards of the main event, it's a very, very much a position where anytime that we have a main event, we want to show that it is a prestigious spot to be in. a lot of times you might see that there's a lot of special attractions, things like that, slotted to the main event picture, and that's very well and good for, especially for attracting it, but attracting an audience and attracting attention. But I feel that there's what the promotion should be measured by is the main event. So in that regard, CJ Felony won a 13-man battle royal, and later in that same night, Nick Williams won his triple threat. And
I was going to say, CJ won that in a shit heel way. I'm not happy with that. I feel like Rex Orion, he beat him that night. There was a match with Rex Orion and CJ Felony the night before, or not the night before, but earlier in the night, and Rex Orion beat him. And I got to say, we're keeping our eye on Payne. Payne gave CJ that big win, and I feel like, you know what, do you want to make a match announcement right now?
Absolutely. As a result of Payne's actions, he will be appearing at Something Sinister, and he will be facing off with Rex Orion. This is kind of a bit of a comeuppance with how Rex was cost that Battle Royal, but we feel it's probably the best way that Payne returns to PCW, and we properly address this in the ring. What else that entails, we've yet to find out. But as a result of that, with CJ's being victorious in the Battle Royal, we're going to have a clash of total devastation for the main event. So, and then in the undercard will be the Hellraiser Payne facing off against Rex Orion, and to finish off the night, we'll have Catalyst Nick Williams against CJ Felony. Now, as a result of what transpired between the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match that we had between Double Dragon's Shootakon Fight Team, the team of Sean McMillan and KL Shock, and Fear the Beard of John Kane and Alexander Cable, we've had two successful tag teams from that night as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to have the team of Sideshow Jack and Madman Taylor, Freak Nation, facing off against John Kane and Alexander Cable of Fear the Beard in a tag team match.
That's going to be. I'm really looking forward to that one. Fear the Beard, our former guests here on the Wrasslun show, so they're friends of WrestleMedia. Of course, so have the Freak Nation been on the program before. They are also friends of WrestleMedia, so I feel a little conflicted in this match. I'm not going to lie to you.
And it's very much everyone has. Both teams have something to gain here. Freak Nation, of course, they're the hometown boys. Fear the Beard, I believe, in speaking with John Cahan, they're now in their 1.5 years as independent wrestlers. They've had a stupendous first year. I believe I think John had mentioned that he had 86 matches in his first calendar year as a wrestler. Very, very well put together individual. It's one of those things of, if you have the drive, the motivation, the intuition, it's something that can be much more beneficial to you as a competitor than just physical fitness or than other things like that. It's not so much what you have in your repertoire, but what you do with it. So we felt it was necessary that if we need to find out, if it was going to be engaging to our audience of finding, who's the top of the heap for this tag team division that seems to be budding here in PCW, then let's find that out. It's the easiest way to address it. So Freak Nation will be against Fear the Beard.
It's going to be a really good contest. I do have listeners who have been asking me about potential for championship gold down the line. Is there a possibility we could be seeing PCW introduce a set of tag team championships in the future?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
there's definitely talk.
And of course, a match like this would end up putting one of those teams into the talk about, well, maybe crowning those first tag team champions. Now, before we go any further, you had mentioned a tag team contest featuring the team of Sean McMillan and KL Shock. Well, By the end of the night at Rising Tide, those two were not partners anymore, nor were they friends. In fact, some people would say that by the end of the night, they were probably the furthest thing from it. And because of that, we have a big match, a grudge match, if you will, coming up at Something Sinister. Tell us a little bit more about that and how that came about.
Well, in the tag match, it was KL Shock and Shug. They took the final pinfall, and I don't know. Like Shug blamed the loss on Shocker, and then he, I will paraphrase the write-up, he kicked him in the little brothers. That's not no one likes that. No one likes that. And I don't know. Sean's angry. He's gone off the deep end. Well, he's mostly spends majority of his time off the deep end, but this time he's just, I don't know, he's just angry all the time, and he wanted this match with Shocker because he wants to teach him some respect.
It's conflicting as well, because in the time that we've known Big Shug, he is of small stature, but he's a very intense individual, and I think some of this he might arguably might be in a bit of a twilight of his career. He recently had 2 years off of the scene, retired even, especially the motivator behind that of properly tending to his daughter, as he's a father now. But what I think has happened since then, and especially that, is I think Sean has perhaps I think it's almost consumed him in a way, because it's not necessarily surprising that he did what he did to Shock at the end of that match, but I think it might be a bit of internal motivation of he's his own worst enemy. So we'll have to see how that plays out. It was a no-brainer to put together this match for Sinister, but what will become of it, we will have to keep a close eye on.
I'm real interested because what you have here are two really fantastic, high-flying individuals, KL Shock and Sean McMillan, both known for some really spectacular offense. But with the emotions that are going to be involved in this contest, McMillan out for respect and Shock out for revenge, this one could break down into a brawl very quickly, something that we don't often see from these two individuals. So I think that anybody picking up tickets to Something Sinister might get a little bit more than they paid for here, which, of course, is always a good value.
Absolutely. And, we will do our due diligence to ensure the safety of those involved, both on either side of the guardrail. But I am certain that it won't be just your run-of-the-mill spot show when it comes to a wide majority of the matches we'll be having at this show.
Hey, this is a commercial for patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca, where you can get early access to episodes of your favorite WrestleMedia shows, get full uncut and uncensored versions of your favorite shows, and more. Don't want to hear this commercial on your podcast anymore? Sign up at our main event tier and get these episodes ad-free. Want to hear your own commercial here instead of ours? We've got tiers for that too. Visit patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca and join the WrestleMedia revolution today. Of course, there's a lot of other talent involved with PCW that are going to be appearing at the event here. But let's talk a little bit about some of the folks outside of PCW that help make it happen, and that's your sponsors. You have quite a few of them, and they've been very good to you since starting things up.
Yeah, and we've had, well, for this show, we have Best in the Biz Car Wash, located in Kempville, and Chris Alice Inc., also located in Kempville, and then Sequence Comics and Gaming, that's located in Brockville. They're all coming back for this show. We had them on the first show, and then we're welcoming 3 new sponsorships for this show. Dave Irish Well Drilling, Jim Perry Automotives, and the Little Irishman Portable Sheds. They're all coming in and helping us helping us by sponsoring the show, and we'd like to give a big shout out and a big thank you to all 6 of those sponsorships, and of course the Legion for hosting us. It's been, of course, yeah. It's
preached volumes for the biggest thing with PCW is it has its roots as being very much brothel, very do-it-yourself, mom and pop sort of thing. The roots it has from involving Taylor and involving formerly Jimmy Cash, but Sideshow Jack. It's also a member of the community as well. So the fact that we have these contacts, these sponsors, and these supporters, small businesses, people that have made it their own, they have a special set of skills, they have a niche profession, and they love what they do. And the fact that they can help us do what we love to do, it's been wonderful. For lack of a better word, not to overuse it, but these are individuals where we're working with the owners, the managers, the person-to-person handshake contact, none of that ink and paperwork stuff. And it's been so motivating to also be able to supply a platform where they respect us and what we do, and we're able to, in turn, give them more attention to perhaps an audience they don't normally reach themselves.
Talk a little bit about the importance of having a good relationship with your sponsors, and as promoters, what are some of the challenges with, finding good sponsors that will recognize what you guys have got going on?
Well, obviously part of the good business relationship is to, provide them their proper advertising and get their name out there, as well as get our name out there, and just following through on what you say you'll deliver. And then with it's really tough getting sponsorships. It's really hard getting people to support you, because wrestling still has kind of a stigma on it. It's like everybody, they don't be like, oh, that wrestling stuff, that's violent, and they just, they don't want to hear anything of it.
Well, I do find, though, that especially when it comes to the stigma on wrestling, that very much plays into, for instance, with Ryan and Alan in Seaway Valley, there was a bit of an issue with burnout with Cornwall particularly, but they were able to overcome that. With Brockville, that didn't necessarily happen.
No.
I found one thing in our time with Kingston was it kind of depends on the build, the subculture, and the audience and things like that. So every place, there's almost like no golden rules on how to properly address sponsorships. Nevertheless, it's knowing who's going to be the first businesses to contact. So wrestling is very much with pop culture, and as two lifelong wrestling fans, like, okay, what else are we interested in? Well, a bit of athletics, music's big, video games, things like that. So, okay, well, what about Sequence Comics? What we didn't know is that the owner of Sequence Comics, and they're opening up a second store in Ottawa this year, because business has been very fruitful to them. They are actually in good contacts with Jan Murphy of Chinlock Wrestling and of WrestleMedia, respectively. So it's just one of those things of the right kind of people that's it's something of its own.
It doesn't hurt to have them be wrestling fans.
That helps too. That does help too. And it's kind of a kinship or a brotherhood. And it's almost like anybody that likes wrestling, and I know, Adam, you yourself included, it's like wrestling's our main thing, and then we have other stuff. It's like, oh, wrestling, yeah, but, RJ big into hockey, or performance arts with you, Adam, because I remember, like, when going to musicals and things like that, and it's just the drama, and it's a certain kind of person, and when we can find that in they're an entrepreneur, that helps the relationship even more.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the relationships you guys have with other promotions in the surrounding area. For a long time, people would consider that kind of stuff a no-no. You don't talk about other promotions. You don't work with other promotions. You focus on yourself because it's dog eat dog. But you guys seem to have taken a more inclusive approach. You guys are working in conjunction with Chinlock Wrestling, and you mentioned Sea Valley Wrestling. I don't know exactly what the extent is, but you guys aren't afraid to talk about them. You aren't afraid to talk about wrestling in the region. You guys seem to have this mindset that there's more than enough to go around. And I just kind of want to ask about that mindset specifically, because it seems to be a different and, dare I say, fresh approach to the business that a lot of other companies don't take.
There's been a bit of a budding hashtag, if it were, because it's an approach that Ryan and Alan of Seaway have started, and Queen Street Entertainment and Renfrew. It seems that there's been a lot of cross promotion, especially in social media sharing, but there's been this hashtag of Stronger Together. And what I think, especially how we are with like historians in wrestling and how much of a fan we are, is there was a time in wrestling that I think we're all almost too young for, that wrestling was independence, it was territories, and everybody got a piece, and everybody was able to benefit from it. And wrestling was a bit more organized in that way. And we grew up in a time where there was a juggernaut. In turn, a lot of this wrestling kind of passed away. A lot of the business model, a lot of people, it was one of those things where if you wanted to become a millionaire in the professional wrestling industry, start off as a billionaire, because that's the only way you were going to become one. So, what I kind of felt that, because we started talking about,
just finish your thought there and then I'll chime in.
The idea of resurrecting PCW started in about January, and at that time as well, All Elite Wrestling was starting to perkle up or bubble up, and there was some talk about Canadian talent finally having an avenue to properly showcase themselves on a major platform. So what then that means is that if these talents are getting international dates, international attention, and their demand is going to the States, there's going to be a vacuum. So that means that talent that are still finding their way are going to get more attention and are going to be able to grow into new talent in the next 5 to 10 years. That means the rookies are going to have a vacuum and are going to be able to showcase themselves better. So why not, instead of drawing in more talent from across the border, not necessarily a Canada first or an exclusionary tactic or anything like that, but why not provide our rookies and the other promotions around here in Eastern Ontario the proper platform to garner more attention, to become more seasoned with their shows, and in turn they find their own identity. And as a result, we can flourish together as our own little mom and pop independent industry again. Something that, because otherwise the kind of the divisionary tactics, the us versus them approach.
And I feel like, you know, it's it's as simple as like, you can't evolve. Like you can't evolve if you have that narrow mind. You have to have an open mind and the willingness to help or accept help or give help. And I feel like that's the reason why evolution is kind of like stopped. It's because everybody's so narrow-minded and self-centered about what they're doing, is that they're not willing to help other people flourish. And obviously, like, the more promotion that a show is given, like, the better they'll do. And like, if we help one another, the better everyone will do.
Absolutely. There was also a time when we had got our introduction or our origin to independent wrestling, especially in Ontario, that it was very
narrow-minded.
It was, and it was very exclusionary in that way, because there was always this big argument between indie wrestling and pro wrestling.
Yeah.
And what I've also realized is both are correct. And it's just how how you go about promoting it and what audience you want to cater to. But nevertheless, both styles have their flaws, but both things do things really well. So why don't we put those two things together and it's almost this hybrid. So a little bit of the approach of old and how you promote the talent and how you showcase them and giving everybody the most beneficial thing they can, all the while giving fans a really good show.
And like these workers, they build their audiences elsewhere, and then they promote their show or the show that they're on, and then that just, that brings in more fans from other areas because they want to go see their wrestlers at another show.
And even think about that too, for the sake of especially these like new rookies, blue chippers or greenhorns, whichever you might call them. The fact that a wrestler like John Cahan can have a platform to have 86 matches in his first year of being an athlete is unheard of, because there would be a time that 86 matches would span 5 years for the Weekend Warrior or something like that. So the fact that somebody can become that season, or at least have that much opportunity for experience, is going to be something beneficial to the industry as a whole. And that's been my main motivator in promoting professional wrestling, is I can't let something that I live for and that I love have not have the proper opportunity to flourish as something like this. It's not like a situation of, I'm scared professional wrestling is going to die, but if there's a way it can be better, and if there's a way it can be stronger, even just from Eastern Ontario, anything like that, why not? It's one of those things that's like, you have the chance to grow older, but you don't have to grow up. So why can't pro wrestling be one of those things?
It certainly is around here at WrestleMedia, and certainly it's a spirit that you guys embody, and we appreciate it. PCW, Professional Championship Wrestling, presents, in association with Chinlock Wrestling, Something Sinister, August 24th at the Royal Canadian Legion, number 96, 180 Park Street, Brockville, Ontario. Where can people get tickets? How much do they cost? And where can they find you guys on social media?
You can pick up your tickets at the Royal Canadian Legion in Brockville, or you can stop in at Sequence Comics and Gaming, located at 25 Perth Street in Brockville, Ontario. And advance tickets are only $10. $10, and then at the door they go up to $15 for adults only.
And that's over 18. So teens, it's not like we call it at maybe 10 years old or anything like that.
Nah.
$10 across the board up until the day of the show. And then once we do doors, then like RJ had said, we're only going to go $15 up. And that's basically just as a motivator that we can have a good idea of how many people we need to accommodate for the show. And it's value. Usually the runtime for the show is about 2.5 to 3 hours. And we're going to be showcasing, I believe, at Sinister, from what we're looking at, 6 to 7 contests. That includes your main event as well. We're also, a little bit of a teaser as well before we end the episode, is we'll be featuring a triangle gauntlet match featuring 7 superstars, which we haven't quite mentioned just yet, but it's a little teaser to keep an eye out for.
Also, if you want to keep posted, Professional Championship Wrestling on Facebook. Is it PCW Ontario? Yes. On Instagram? PCW Ontario. Yeah. Shit, it's right there. It's right in front of me. Anyways.
Hashtag PCW Ontario for all of the posts, to keep a quick eye on it. And then you can also reach us at Facebook and Instagram at facebook.com or instagram.com/PCW Ontario. And give us a like. Keep an eye on us. We're planning to continue running every 3 to 4 months, every season. And other than that, you can also catch things up with Chinlock Wrestling.
Thank guys for being on the show. We really appreciate it. Get your tickets right now to
one more
Something
quick thing
Sinister.
before we leave.
Yes, please.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I just want to gauge. So, if we were to start a PCW Ontario gaming profile, where you could go on, you could game with Sideshow Jack, you could game with RJ or whoever the hell. Would you want to do that? Do you got a PS4, Adam?
I mean, I did recently get one for my birthday, yes.
There you go. There you go. We're gonna start a WrestleMedia profile. We'll start the PCW profile. We'll go on GTA and we'll have good fun, pick flowers or some shit.
Sounds like a plan. I appreciate that, guys. What an interesting conversation this has been, but I want to thank you both for being on the show today and for being friends of WrestleMedia. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks again for having us. Oh, I'm wearing my WrestleMedia t-shirt right now.
I can confirm he's not fluffing you here. It's legitimately wrestling is everything and everything is wrestling. Oh, I just read it backwards. But still, he's in WrestleMedia colors today.
You know, that's kind of the beauty of our slogan is that you can read it backwards and it still means the same damn thing. So thank you to RJ. Thank you to Maddie. Suck it, Legion 95. That has been our interview this week, guys. Thanks so much. Have yourselves a great day.
Thank you, sir. You too. Peace out.
Great guys, Matt and RJ. Love having them on the show. I'm sure we'll have them back again. Go support PCW tomorrow. They're putting on a great show in Brockville. Check it out. Something Sinister is going to be something spectacular. All right, that's going to do it for this week's portion of the show. We got the patron stuff coming up where I'm going to be rebooking a King of the Ring tournament. You're going to find out which one in just a few minutes. Maybe you don't have the money to throw some ducats in the bucket. That's okay. No problem. There's a lot of other ways you can support us. You can be our own personal Dave Meltzer and give us 5 stars if you're listening to us on iTunes. Give us a rate and review of something real positive. Or if you're listening to on another platform like Spotify or SoundCloud or Stitcher, maybe you're like, I'm just going to tell some people about it. Cool. That's what we like. Tell people about it. If you go to the PCW show, tell everybody, hey, did you find out about this show through the WrestleMedia? And if they say no, be like, what? Why haven't you been listening to WrestleMedia, man? Check this out. All kinds of great podcasts. Go and tell those people all about it. We want to spread the word. That is the best way to let people know about our shows. Of course, if you want to learn more about our shows, maybe you're new to our product, or maybe you just want a highlight reel of what was the best stuff this week, sign up for a free newsletter. It's free, buddy. You can go get it at WrestleMedia.ca, and every Sunday, bam, you're going to get a newsletter in your email inbox with all the highlights, maybe even some exclusive content and or contests as well. I tried to put them together so I didn't mess it up this time.
Smart man.
You'll hear that on We Have Till 5 a little bit later. There is all kinds of great stuff for you every week here on WrestleMedia. The newsletter packs it together into one tight bunch. But, you know, maybe you're listening to this podcast going, yeah, you know what, this is great. But, you know, my eyeballs are getting kind of bored. I haven't seen anything on this auditory-only podcast. What do I have to look at? What do I have to look forward to, Andrew? So I tell you, well, there is our YouTube page. We have videos put up. We do have video versions of these podcasts. And of course we have our shows like our road trip videos, our package pile driver videos. We've got some more stuff coming up. Hopefully some new to Drew's as well. I got to show him some weird stuff in the wrestling archives that I think will be fun for him to react to, and a whole lot more that's coming up. So stay tuned and subscribe. We want to hit 100 subscribers. Plus, if you're also wondering, like, well, when do those shows come out? Hit that notification bell, and then you'll get a notification. That's what it's there for. That's why they call it the notification bell. It's not difficult. We can follow this trail quite easily. You all right there?
Oh, yeah, I'm good.
Good. And, of course, if you want to know where WrestleMedia is going to be on the road, just check out the On the Road section at WrestleMedia.ca. Coming up September 7th, we're going to be in Angus, Ontario for Rock Solid Wrestling's Anarchy in Angus. Crazy Steve's coming back home. I know that Jake O'Reilly is going to be there. We've got Cody Deaner's going to be there. We know that for sure. Of course, we've got Anthony Darko's going to be there. All kinds of great talent's going to be there. And we're going to be there. I'll be doing the ring announcing duties that night. So hopefully another member of the team will come by here and you guys can interact. But it's going to be a lot of fun. Either way, go and get your tickets to that show because we will be there as well. That's going to do it for this week on the WrestleMedia program, known as the Wrasslun Show for this week. Thank you so much for listening. Andrew, thank you so much for filling in for Matt.
You're welcome, man.
And let's get ready to talk some King of the Ring for our patron portions. In the meantime and in between time, thanks for listening. Until then, we'll see you next week. I'm at Adam Conta. That's Andrew Kent. And you know what to do. Listen, share, subscribe, repeat.
This has been a presentation of WrestleMedia, where everything is wrestling and wrestling is everything.
Here's what you're missing out on right now over at patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca.
This is your patron portion.
I wish they could have seen you doing that. Like, you got the little audience. You're like, what's that guy from Parks and Rec? John.
He's the worst.
Exactly.
John Ralphio.
That's it, John Ralphio. You're totally doing a John Ralphio, the patron portion. The patron portion. Give us money. This is 2 shows now.
Thank you for your money.
This is now 2 shows that have referenced Parks and Rec on a regular basis, because whenever we talk about patrons on Women Crush Wrestling, Jenny and I both go, money please.
Money, 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 money.
Want more? Sign up now at patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca.